What's going on, everybody, and welcome back once again to the channel. And in this video I'm going to be doing my post week 9 USFL 2023 power rankings, and these will be the final power rankings of the 2023 season that I do. As you know, I do this with NFL, XFL, now USFL. I don't do power rankings after the final week of the regular season because it's playoff time, and power rankings seem a little bit meaningless at that point, since some people are in who may be ahead of others. So that's how I do it. But I will be doing my USFL playoff preview next week after the week 10 games. But yeah, let's get into these final power rankings of the 2023 USFL season. Coming in at number 8, I have the Michigan Panthers, who are now 3-6. Obviously I have them as the worst team, but you can make an argument against the number, but I think right now you gotta put them at worst, to be honest, actually, because they just lost to the Marlers. Their offense was terrible in this game, and they're just not a well organized team, but they're still in the mix to make it into the playoffs at 3-6. They are in a win and in scenario. And before we continue on with these power rankings, just to make it dummy it down a bit, it's very simple for the Northern Division. Forget about the Southern Division for a second. It's very simple for the Northern Division heading into this final week. The four teams play each other. The Generals play the Marlers, and the Panthers play the Stars. The winner of each of those games are in. None of the four teams need somebody else to win for them. Nobody needs anybody to win to get in and for themselves to win. Everyone controls their own destiny. The 2 winners are in and the 2 losers are out. It's that simple. So it's basically like the playoffs start early. Think of it as the NFL divisional round, and the final 4 teams in a conference are playing each other. The winners advance to play each other and the losers are gone. That's basically what this is. So it's that simple. The South Division, a little more complicated, and we'll get into that in a few minutes here. But yeah, Panthers in at number 8. And then at number 7, I have the Pittsburgh Marauders, who, they were able to get the win, bounce back from that really tough loss to the Gamblers the week prior. They are now also 3-6, and they are in a win and in scenario. It will be interesting to see how they match up against the Generals. And then coming in at number 6, I have the Generals, who are also 3-6, and were able to get a big-time win over the Philadelphia Stars, one of the hottest rivalries in the USFL. They've faced off 5 times now in the last 2 seasons, and yeah, it's gonna get interesting between these northern teams of who gets in. But I think the Generals, if they can just play efficient football like how they did yesterday against the Stars, the wheels almost came off and they almost blew a 21-point lead. They were up 37-16, and all of a sudden it was 37-33, and the Stars had the ball. It almost slipped away there, but the Generals offense, that was as good as the Generals offense has looked over the past 2 seasons, and their defense was playing really well until that 4th quarter. The wheels started falling off, which is definitely something to be concerned about if you are the Generals. But they are obviously, like we've mentioned, in a win and in scenario. And then coming in at number 5, I have the Philadelphia Stars, who dropped to 4-5. That was a tough loss, but again, they do control their destiny. But they all of a sudden now they're in a must-win situation. They need to win. Case Cookus really got thrown around in this game, but he played a heck of a game. He showed his leadership. I think he's the clear-cut second best quarterback after Alex Magoo for the Stallions. And yeah, Case Cookus, a heck of a player. And they almost had that epic comeback, but they fell short. Very, very likely that them and the Generals will face off against each other again. But they played the Michigan Panthers, who they played all the way back in week 2, who beat them pretty good and back in week 2. But 2 very different teams right now. I think the Stars, they should be able to do well in the passing game against the Panthers. But just that being said, the Panthers have one of the best pass rushes in the USFL, and the Stars really struggle to protect their quarterback. So that could be a bad matchup for the Stars. Coming in at number 4, I have the Houston Gamblers, who are now 5-4. They got blown out by the Birmingham Stallions. It was a close game. late third quarter, and then the Stallions just turned it up in the late third quarter, entering throughout the fourth quarter. The Gamblers just couldn't keep up. You know, Mark Thompson, I think he can kiss his MVP hopes goodbye after that game. I think that game was, you know, a big decider for the MVP race. The two top guys going head on. The running back for the Gamblers versus the quarterback of the Stallions, Alex Magoo. You know, Mark Thompson was averaging about 3 yards a carry, was not very effective in this game because the Stallions were just really stacked in the box against them. And I think it's pretty obvious at this point that the Gamblers go as far as Mark Thompson goes. If they can't get a running game going, they're not going to be able to get much of else going in the passing game, because their passing game comes off of the running game. And if the running game can't go, Kenji Bahar can't get it going. Kenji Bahar had a really goofy fumble that pretty much put the game away also. And yeah, the Gamblers, they have some problems heading into the final week. Coming in at number 3, I have the Memphis Showboats, whose 5-game winning streak was snapped in a 31-3 debacle that was a shit show from the start for them. You know, obviously that game had a long weather delay, a 3-hour delay, and I think that only added to the wonkiness for the Showboats. You know, they ended up losing 31-3, but I do believe that, you know, they're not what that final score says. I think, you know, there were some moments where they really, you know, could have taken a field goal. They didn't. Could have made the game a little bit closer, and then a fumble at the 1-yard line right before the half. If they don't fumble there at the 1-yard line before the half, it would have been 17-10 at halftime, and that could have changed the whole complexion of the game, because then in the second half they would have been more inclined to kicking their field goals, and instead of being down 24-3 at one point, it could have been 24-16, and it may have changed, you know, the ending of that game. But, you know, the bottom line is they still got just outdone 31-3, but I don't think it is a panic. It's a panic button in the sense that they are now in a tough situation heading into the final week, but I think if they can get in the playoffs, they can compete. Coming in at number 2, I have the New Orleans Breakers, who are now 6-3. And they were able to get an important win. So for the Breakers, it's the Stallions are in. The Stallions are clinched in the playoffs. That's that. The Breakers, if they win, they're in. They don't need anybody to do anything. If they win, they are in. Going back to the Showboats, what they need is they need to win, and they need the Breakers to lose. And then what the Gamblers need is they need to win, and they need the Showboats to lose. So the Showboats and Gamblers are both depending on something else to happen. The Breakers, they just need to win, and they are in. And they are playing the Houston Gamblers, who they played all the way back in week 2 in that shootout, 38-31. You know, it's gonna be a big one, obviously. But West Hills was able to get a little bit more involved back in this game. McLeod Bethel Thompson played solid, and their defense obviously, you know, got, I think in some moments it was more the Showboats beating themselves, but overall, yeah, the Breakers defense played really well in this game. Then coming in at number 1, I don't, no question here, the Birmingham Stallions with a 7-2 record. You know, they're just really well built all the way around on the defensive side of the ball. And offense, it is all on Alex Magoo and Jay Sternberger, the tight end. He's became a really good target for Magoo and company. But yeah, I mean, this team is definitely the team to beat, and it's gonna be interesting to see who can take them down in the playoffs, if anybody, and see if they can go back to back. Comment down below what you guys think about all this, and other than that, I'll see you guys next time.